social. Okay, so it seems clear to me, certainly on TV shows, and it seems to me on movies, that movies are getting made and cast with a clear awareness of social. So, truth or dare, like truth-telling moment, are you casting movies, for those of you on this panel who are casting movies, with an eye to the social footprint of the actors in the movie?
Yes.
No. We are not.
That was not rehearsed.
Yeah.
I can be specific. I think it
No,
depends.
yes.
I think it depends on the movie.
You next.
I think it depends on the movie.
Mark just said on the tiebreak.
Wait, before they explain, do you have a yes or a no?
We don't. Marketing weighs in on when we look at these things. We talk to our colleagues in marketing and certainly what their impact will be across all platforms, you know, how they feel their impact is going to be. That's part of the conversation. So it's a data point, but only as it kind of comes
Jonas
from
Brothers?
how marketing feels. We don't look at it as we cast the best people we think in the part.
My point is, I think it depends on the movie. So for example, we have a picture coming up in January from Screen Gems, Clint Culpepper's label, and it's a Kevin Hart vehicle called The Wedding Ringer. It's an R-rated comedy. It's about a buddy relationship that he has with Josh Gad. It has a lot of heart. It's very funny. There were secondary parts that were cast with the social reach of the other actors in mind, because that is a marketing-driven decision, and the movie turned out great, but those movies made at that price point. It's about, is there a marketable...
What's the price of the movie?
Under 20.
Under 20? It's not cheap.
No, under 20.
Oh, under 20. I thought you said 120. I was like,
that'd be a lot for a Kevin Hart movie.
Sorry,
we hope it grosses around there, though.
Okay, and so it made sense to do that.
We factored that in because it was part of how we're going to sell the movie.
Yeah, to Greg's point, you know, look, it's great if somebody we happen to cast in a film who's right for the part has a great social presence, or even, you know, more conventionally, somebody who can get booked on, you know, talk shows, be on the cover of magazines, whatever it is, that whole mix. But it certainly doesn't drive anything. And, you know, I don't want to be specific about it, but even we've had a lot of people who have very big social, you know, footprints. They tweet every day or something, and it hasn't made a difference. It hasn't provoked.
It hasn't made a difference.
No, and you know, people have to want to see the film, and all those kinds of bells and whistles. It's like we've talked. I know you and I have talked a lot about this, about sort of what drives, what motivates, what's the most persuasive, and you can tick all those boxes, and you can have somebody who has millions and millions of followers. But if the combination of things is not right, and people don't care about that person in that movie or whatever, it's not going to matter. Yeah. You have to get the whole mix of it right, and that alone is not enough. Because even for word of mouth, well, you know, some famous person says, "Go see the movie." I can tell you, unless everything else is working, it doesn't matter at all.
I completely agree with Sue, but I also think there are times when you look at movies where, you know, you have someone like a Vin Diesel who has one of the largest, you know, followings of any, you know, star and in his social space, and you look at a kind of movie that has a fan base like a Fast and Furious, and there can be a great opportunity to have that kind of authentic relationship with your fans, to put materials out in that way, and it does create and kind of really foster this real kind of intimacy and interaction with a franchise over time and a group of actors in the sort of familiar relations. But I completely agree with Sue that there are times when just having someone with a lot of followers doesn't mean that they're going to be excited about a movie.
I think you also...
by the way, I think it's, not to have any, I just think it's so interesting because I've had people from Twitter and Facebook here on this stage arguing the exact opposite. So
of course.
I love to get this kind of real... I know, I know, and I understand that I know where they work and I know what they do, but I mean, it's great to have this kind of...
There's a different facet to it, though, which I think is from a production perspective. There's the kind of the offensive, and then there's also, if you're making a movie, you know, you want to be able to introduce materials ideally as you would like to introduce materials. So if we look at what Lucasfilm is experiencing now with Star Wars, or what Marvel goes through on many of their movies, you know, you would like to be able to say, well, we want to introduce this content at a time and place of our choosing, and you don't always get that luxury with the world as it's evolved. Right. So there's both an offensive aspect to it, and there's a defensive aspect to it, because you don't want the story necessarily told of your production all the way up to your first trailer. I
mean, I think that's a great example, because that Star Wars table read photo, that just went crazy viral. Crazy. And you guys have been very selective. I think smartly selective about what you're putting out on that, because the anticipation and the expectations are very high. The anticipation is going to be off the charts. So you want to feed that, but not too much. I mean, that's got to be tough.
JJ's really good at it. JJ's really good at it.
Yeah.
But further to that, to the point you're both making, it's because it was authentic. And that's the thing, you know, Josh, to what you're saying. If you just, if it doesn't feel real, and there isn't a real connection, and people aren't comfortable with what they're doing, and if the kind of things that go out don't feel different, people dismiss them. If it feels too promotional. That photograph, we looked at that and went, shit.
No,
sorry.
it was completely
right. And look, you felt like you were there, right?
Yeah,
you felt like you were
fantastic strategy. You know, so not on the nose in the world of like people feeling manipulated and handled. There has to be a way in that's organic and real.
Yeah. But to that point, it's all about authenticity, and you know, all of us are in the business of creating magic for people, and so that magic is so much more important than anybody's social reach. I mean, we had our choice of, you know, everyone in town wanting to play the female lead opposite Will Smith in Focus. And this woman walked in and did an audition with him that just took everybody's breath away. And, you know, she'd been in one movie, but, you know, no one really knew who she was. She was the exact Margot Robbie.
Well, she was in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in Wolf of Wall Street, and but there were people who had huge social footprints. There were people who were huge movie stars. She had this magic, and it was a chemistry between her and Will. And then you go to the the test screenings, and we have that similar Fault in Our Stars experience where you have this energy and rock concert experience at a test screening that you can only get with the magic of authentic, great actors with a great screenplay and great directors and the great music and everything all perfectly together. That's so much more powerful than someone having a certain number of Twitter followers.
Agree. And they can sense it. John Lasseter, our colleague at Pixar, has a great quote, which I love, which is, "Quality is the best business model." And I think that speaks to social media too. They can tell when you mean it. And I think when you try to get tricky or cute, you get hurt.
They can tell.
Yeah, I think, just to say that one last thought on social, I mean, I think you talk about people who have social footprints, but there's another kind of litmus test about social, which is this a movie, a concept, an authentic moment that people will share, organically? And I think that there's a real difference between buying and then sharing. And are things share-worthy becomes a bit of a way of kind of understanding, does this idea have the substance, does the moment have that authenticity, does the magic of that relationship pop off the screen in such a way that once you have it, is it worthy of identifying yourself and going to a friend and saying, look at this?
And you don't want to give it away either if it's that really key moment on screen. You don't want to
give it away. I'm just saying, but it's a new way of kind of judging and understanding kind of how content moves in the world, that it's not about pushing it with dollars, it's about a kind of a new ecosystem.
I want to hear from Bill on the social footprint question on indie films, because that's you guys have to really try to break through, and you don't have the marketing dollars that Sue has or that, that
Right,
Josh has.
that's correct. And in fact, it becomes a lot more important because one of the challenging things, just going back on breaking the windows, is getting the talent engaged. Because the talent traditionally wants to see their film on the big screen. And when you get A-list talent involved in a project where you're breaking those windows, it's an education process. And we spend a tremendous amount of time with the agents and the talent themselves trying to get them educated on this new platform system. And that in combination with their engagement in the social media space is hugely important to the success of the films. So it becomes very important on the smaller films because we don't have the budgets.
Yeah.